Alright guys, I hope you're all doing well and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be the Wood Elves led by Nerexa facing off against Slaanesh, who is going to be helmed by Ghouls and Prince Sigvald. Now, we are on the Rift at World's Edge, so a little bit of a tree line. Wood Elves can do some cool vanguards, run through the trees here, do some ambushes, and it is normally considered a speed versus speed matchup in terms of the lore, but Slaanesh, of course, the meta for them is just spamming big heavy armor, and that certainly makes sense against Wood Elves as armor checking them has always been pretty good, like double Chaos Knight with mass Chaos Warriors, that sort of thing. Now, as far as the Wood Elf army goes, how are they going to be dealing with said armor? Let's find out today on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. It is going to be Glade Lord and a Forest Dragon, which makes sense. Two big armor-piercing monsters, both of whom have breath attacks, which can potentially annihilate a unit of infantry. So it's going to be very finesse-based, but Wood Elf's not easy to play, but certainly can be rewarding. So we got Dryads in the front. Dryads will trade okay into Marauders, but unfortunately they'll get absolutely smashed by most of the Chaos Warriors. In the secondary reserve, we do have a couple of units of Eternal Guards with shields, backed up by a Spellsinger of Life with regrowth, just to spam heals on the dragons. And that appears to be it. So this build really seems like it's, it has some capture weight in the back, but the real epicenter of the build is going to be the Double Dragon. Looking at the Slaaneshi army, it's going to be using the best units on the roster. So Chaos Warriors of Slaanesh with Hell Scourges are probably one of the best infantry units in the entire game, just pound for pound. They have basically chosen level melee defense stats for 900 gold. They have immune to psychology, they have physical resist, they also have charge reflection, so when things charge them, they can brace and just return the favor a little bit. I mean, they're just so incredibly good. I don't know, yeah, I'm trying to think of an infantry unit, like in terms of that category that's better. There might be some chaff units that are slightly stronger, but overall, they really take the cake, so. Okay, so dragons up in the sky. You can see Sigvald's little auras kind of tickling them, the Paragon of Excess, which is going to be lowering their stats, but overall, they're just kind of hanging out on vacation. But like I said, the entire Slaanesh army is going to be just Chaos Warriors with some Chaos Knights lurking in the trees, and the Chaos Sorcerer of Slaanesh is going to be spamming spells to trigger the lore passive and buff up the entire army. Now look at the dragons going in for a gooning on Sigvald. Not something you see terribly often, but old Sigvald does get beaten up there, takes a little bit of HP damage, and that can matter as the game goes on. Dragons are going to retreat without too much drama, and it looks like there was some witchcraft being cast there. I think that was the Rod of Torment from the caster, as Chaos Furies get called in. So Chaos Furies will die pretty quickly against these dragons, but I suppose if they were going to stay on Sigvald, they would have them, have them jump on the dragons, could do some DPS after the fact. So Chaos Knights in the trees, Chaos Warriors with Hell Scourges in the trees as well. It looks like the Wood Elves are going to be taking the initial initiative here and grabbing Objective 3 and 2, which is going to be forcing these Slaaneshi hordes to advance. No missiles, no Way Watchers, which makes sense. Way Watchers would be terrible against a style play. Just tons of silver shields, no real good targets except the Chaos Knights, so maybe you call them out a little bit later. Breath Attack going down. If only the dragons could learn how to lead their targets a little bit. The dragon sees them moving and plans when he does his Breath Attack, but usually it's just better when they're engaged in combat versus your units and you could just hit them right down the side. But still not horrible damage. Does a little bit, but the Warriors, they're going to shake that one off. Now, call-ins are banking for both players. Yeah, so we're not seeing anything called in for Ghouls or Nerexa here as the two armies prepare to clash on the objective. And it looks like the Dryads going to get overwhelmed pretty hard here. Little tree folk certainly not going to be enjoying fighting these giant, scary Chaos Warriors. The Dragons looking for opportunities to land, and honestly, they kind of have their own freedom of wherever they want to go. Sigvald's going to be going in for a duel. Looks like, yeah, he wants to fight the Dragons, but Dragons just going to charge in, retreat, using their masks to get away. And how are the Wood Elves going to deal with all this armor? Okay, we see Zotes being called in. Zotes, in theory, do have good armor piercing. So if they're able to stand on top of a Dryad or Eternal Guard unit, it might be a good trade. But I think the real reason that the Zotes are here is to deal with Chaos Knights. Anti-large, armor piercing, what's not to love? Now, a little bit of a gooning attempt once again. Sigvald may be overextending. Okay, so the Glade Lord does have the Helm of Discord item. I always forget about that. So that is going to be lowering Sigvald's stats, making the dragons connect with him very effectively. So you can see that the Prince is on the run, and the two dragon characters certainly getting really, really good value there. Now in the backfield, we do see Bladesingers being called in. Excellent choice. And what I really like about this Bladesinger play is it's being used as a tertiary tool. He didn't have them in the starting army. It wasn't his first wave. So his opponent didn't see them and didn't really register and have preparations for them. And now they come in and they're going to be able to just buzzsaw through whatever they want, potentially. We'll see. I mean, obviously Slaanesh can still focus them down with magic, other witchcraft, but we'll find out in due time. Nice Breath Attack right there. That was a beauty. Nails those Chaos Warriors and those Marauders, but the fact that Slaanesh's entire roster is immune to psychology is so crazy good in terms of value. Now, Wood Elves calling in a little bit of a skirmisher core. We do see the Glade Riders with Hagbane tips, maybe just for poison utility. Excuse me. Having them just kind of poke and prod and provide some mobile capture weight, but it looks like Slaanesh does have the advantage on the objectives now, so they've gotten both objectives and have been holding them for some time. Bladesinger is going to be saturating into the front, and if the Slaanesh player does not notice them, it's going to be very devastating. Big dragons coming in, helping to rout the devoted marauders on this side, and dryads and eternal guard should be holding the side objective. Looks like his second unit of chaos knights has been called in. And the Chaos Knights, if they're able to charge the Eternal Guard while they're not braced, they might be able to finish them off, but if they charge into them braced with Zotes nearby, it's going to be a losing fight. So Dragon's going for it again, kind of taking advantage of the fact that the Slaanesh build really isn't respecting the mass. Outside of Chaos Knights, the build doesn't really have any sort of mass to stop these dragons, right? So they can kind of just do whatever they please to an extent. Of course, regrowths are going to be healing them, Zotes sitting in the trees, and I do like the Zotes here because they also bring Earthblood. So the Zotes have a couple of charges of Earthblood, I think just one. And they can do some big work. So Zote's screening out the Chaos Knights, but on the other side, we get the Warriors of Slaanesh trying to get the big old wood sandwich here. That's what she said. And Bladesingers in the front doing well, but looks like they're going to be getting a regrowth, but they have been debuffed by Slaanesh, and that is going to be helping. Sigvald also will be pretty effective at cutting through them. So, help to see what kind of value they get. Only 300 so far. So looking around the backfield, it looks like a little bit of pressure from these Chaos Warriors with the Hell Scourges, and they're doing a very good job. This is a great play by Ghouls. Using one shielded infantry to screen out all this value back here is just so money. Looks like another breath attack from the Dragon. So far, so good in that regard. Prince Sigvald getting pretty close to healing cap. I wouldn't be surprised to see Wood Elves go for a gooning attempt. And here comes the big Dragon. Sigvald immediately gets sandwiched by the Dragons. Not sure if he's going to enjoy this sandwich, as he is taking quite a bit of HP damage. Is the Helm of Discord active? It's not, but he's currently poisoned, which is pretty substantial. Chaos Knights pulling back through the ranks, eluding the Zotes. So he pulled back through his own Chaos Warriors, and the Zotes were trying to chase him, but the Zotes do get caught out. But if Sigvald does go down, that's going to be a pretty big loss for the army, and it's not something you hear happening terribly often. Man, his leadership is so good. Despite being like on death's bed, he's just going hard. These Dragons are really connecting super well. I can't tell you how many games I've had against Sigvald where I'm just trying to finish him off, but every attack is just like missing. And yeah, now you're seeing his melee defense is starting to hold up a little bit more firm. Eternal Guard being called in, and it looks like in the backfield it's just more archers, which are being screamed by Ghouls. So Ghouls just sacrificing some Chaos Warriors, which is extremely cost effective with those silver shields. A little bit of a play opportunity here. If the Wood Elves are paying attention, they could send these rallying spears over to Objective 1 to get a little bit of threatening cap weight there. Meanwhile, Sigvald with 200 HP, and now Slaanesh is going to be having to sacrifice its capture weight here. So the big Chaos Knights moving in, and they do block up the Dragons. It looks like there is going to be a bombardment going down on the Dragon here from the Wand. I believe that's on the caster, the Rod of Torment, I think is what it's called. But you gotta get that Sigvald kill. If he gets unsummoned, I mean, all that effort. I mean, yes, Sigvald's off the battlefield, but the benefit of killing Sigvald is more so that you are going to be applying a leadership penalty to the enemy army before he can retreat or, you know, rally and come back or something like that. And look at this. Uh-oh. I've lost games to these guys. Bringers of Beguilement coming out here for Ghouls. I love this. They, of course, have that Rampage. If they get this Wood Elf Lord Rampage, that's going to be game blouses, probably. That would be so devastating. Looks like he's trying to run away. Chaos Knight's hot on its tail. This Dragon needs to hunt down Sigvald. Sigvald has rallied. Probably going to be unsummoned here, I would wager. Oh my god, that's so stressful. Those Demonettes are just hot on the tail there of that Glade Lord. And now it looks like they're going to be going to protect Homeboy Sigvald, which is the Dragon going to commit? He commits. He gets him to 27 HP. Oh man, the Dragon's going to get Rampage, though. He is euphoric. But Sigvald goes down. The hero Dragon with the kill. Man, if that Dragon had not gotten the kill and Sigvald had rallied and been unsummoned or something, dude, brutal, brutal. But Bringers of Beguilement are an insanely powerful unit. They hit really, really hard. They have great combat stats, and this Dragon probably will die in this Rampage. If my Malekith from one of the tournament games I had a couple weeks ago is going to die to this, they are for sure going to pay the price as well. So a lot of skirmish cab, Wood Elves using their mobility, trying to get the Glade Riders with Hagbane's hips in position to shoot the Bringers of Beguilement, maybe salvage that Dragon situation. A couple Dryads coming over, some cap weight here, but Hell Scourges and basic Devoted Marauders have arrived as well. Is that going to be a Fascination? It looks like it. So Fascination is pretty good to use on ranged skirmish cavalry because it does damage, and then it gets them low enough that they're rampaged, and then they charge into melee and usually die. So it's very strong. Spear's holding well over here. Zotes also anchoring it. Zotes might be able to take these Chaos Warriors with a little bit of spear support. Middle objective owned by the Warriors of Chaos pretty comfortably. And it looks like the Bringers of Beguilement did their job. They just roasted this Dragon. And attempted regrowth. That could be one that the Wood Elf player regrets. In theory, yes, it could save this Dragon, but the Demonettes are fast enough that they could actually keep up with it on the ground and chase that thing off the battlefield, which is just such good value here. So, so good. The Dragon moving in, going to be moving over to the Dryads. Back objective for the Wood Elves, or the primary objective they've had pretty much all game, is actually being threatened a little bit right now. Could be a lapse of micro here, but these Spears definitely need to head back to that point to salvage it if they can and make sure things don't get too crazy. Skirmish Cavalry using most of their ammunition, but not getting a ton of value. These ones have gotten about 400 value using all of their ammo. And the magic, the arrows do magic damage, which isn't bad, but it looks like it's going to be unsummons from these Hagbane tips. And overall, with the unsummon taken into account, they'll have done okay for themselves, which I do like that. It's a partial refund, too. So this big Dragon going to be looking to avoid the Bringers of Beguilement. Oh my god! How did that happen? Oh my god, what a blunder! Somehow this dragon came back and it's healthy now. Not healthy, but in respectable shape. It does have 2,600 HP. Remember this moment, ladies and gentlemen. This could be the moment in which the Wood Elves maybe flip this game back, because I was about to make a comment about how the Bringers of Begalman are going to move back in and start to take over a lot of the objectives. But now that there's a big dragon, potentially, which has breath attacks and a lot of fighting power, it could be pretty dicey indeed. So Zote's moving up, side objective being held by Spheres. Dryad's going to be sacrificed. Does not look like Slaanesh is making any plays for Objective 3. As far as Objective 2 goes, the Dragon's going to be trying to clear this out. He's got a little Dryad support and some Eternal Guard here. Eternal Guard are solid. They do have good AP values. And what's neat about Eternal Guard is if you stack them with the Dragon character, the Blade Lord, which is kind of cool to see these like lords be good, is that you get the Call of the Wild, so they're going to be your Call of the Wood, so they get 5 melee attack, putting them up to 36 melee attack here, which is very respectable in tandem with the banner. I think there's another banner that does something similar. Yeah, the Banner of the Hunt. So plus 10 melee attack aura for this Glade Lord is really good. Putting Dryads up to 45, not bad at all. Sigvald basically gone. Bringers of Begalman, I believe, have moved up to the objective, or at least they're nearby. Here we see Devoted Marauders. We see Devoted Marauders and more Spears coming out. Chaos Knights sitting on the wings. And yeah, the Bringers of Begalman going to be doing battle with these Eternal Guards and just massacring them. It's going to be a super one-sided beatdown. They'll probably won't lose more than a couple hundred HP, I would wager. The backfield, Zotes duking it out with the Hellstriders. Zotes themselves, somewhat stalwart. They do have high melee defense for their type of unit at 41. So we're going to see if they can hold on to that point. Meanwhile, the Dryads and Dragon character trying to push up here, but Slaanesh is not easy to uproot. Slaanesh being immune to psychology makes like terror routes impossible, obviously. So you can't really get them with big terror routes. And man, they can be a menace for sure. Now, are these Chaos Warriors going to evolve into a bit of a threat? Do have 89 Eternal Guard here, but I have a feeling that these Chaos Warriors might find a way to win this fight against these Eternal Guard, which would put a lot of pressure on the Wood Elves for this objective. So we'll see what the response is going to be. Now, Blade Singers coming in. Yes, Blade Singers are back for round 2. And in their first life, they got about 800 value, which isn't bad considering they're being focused. And we're also fighting Sigvald, who's a pretty scary character. Dragon character trying to wrestle him off this point. This would be a huge breath attack right there, but it looks like there's going to be a breath attack attempt on the Bringers of Begalman. Does a little bit of damage. And honestly, any amount's good. Those Bringers are very, very problematic for the Wood Elves here. And looking at the value on the battlefield, we do see 11.8 to about 10,000. Wood Elves have had quite a bit of healing, though. We've had the Spellsinger casting multiple regrowths, and also the Zotes casting Earthbloods. So there has been healing. So I would say the value in this game is very, very close, if anything. It's definitely not like a one-sided thing. And it looks like a couple Dryads arrive, might give the win over those Chaos Warriors. And now the Wood Elves going to be desperation pushing, but it's getting very, very tight. This is going to be probably a triple cap situation here, as Blade Singers get a cost-effective fight versus these Hellscourge Warriors, and they'll just butcher them to pieces. Demonettes, though, are going to put in some work too, but man, the fact that Blade Singers actually do magic damage is really big. That will give them basically a big, big damage buff here against the Demonette units. So Dragon's going hard on the paint with these Spears in the middle, and on the other side, the Eternal Guard prison shanking down these Chaos Warriors, so those guys running out of steam. And it looks like the Wood Elves are starting to kind of take this game over a little bit. Slaanesh looks like they might have blown their load earlier, maybe running out of steam. I do see a pocket of strength here, but the fact that these Dragons have been kept alive is giving them so much fighting power here in the fourth quarter. Looks like that's going to be a Fascination going down. It will do some pretty decent damage in tandem with Rampaging them. Not that Rampage matters. But this is a brutal engagement for Slaanesh right here. This one unit of Blade Singers is going to accrue so much value, cutting through both Chaos Knights as well as the Bringers of Begalman and these Hellscourge Warriors here, or I guess Marauders. Looks like the Blade Singer's up to 1,200, so like I said, accruing big, big value here, and Slaanesh able to overwhelm the position here. All right, getting a little bit scary. Side objective, a little bit of wood action over here. Eternal Guard and the Spellsinger trying to capture that one. And Dryads out of the Vanguard. Nice stuff right there. That will definitely slow the bleeding if they can flip this point. And the response is going to be Devoted Marauders, which will lose to the Dryads, no problem. And yeah, looks like the objective is going to be flipping, so Wood Elves just fighting desperately to get that middle point. And they do need it. It's 100% a triple cap situation. So I can understand why the Slaanesh player would be fighting tooth and nail here in this situation. Big Dragon Man still going strong. Chaos Knights able to stabilize that, and the Blade Singer's probably up to about 1,500 value so far. Let's go ahead and check and see how they're doing. Just absolute brutal combat down here. Look how giant those Chaos Knights are. I'm painting a couple Chaos Knights in tabletop right now. The new ones, man, they're so incredibly cool. So Chaos Knights peeling around. Looks like they're out of steam. Dryads and the Eternal Guard do get the side objective. So now it is a double cap, 2-1. So Wood Elves do have the cap advantage, and that gives them a lot of time to work with. Because if it was a 2-cap situation for Slaanesh, it would have taken it would have gone really, really quickly, right? So then they would have just been brutal for the hard wood here. Spears moving up to the point, and what is the call-in? It's going to be more Eternal Guard. I think that Wood Elves will probably have a pretty good time holding the objectives here with the 2 dragons in play. Bladesingers moving up to the middle point. We also do get some Eternal Guard fighting against these Chaos Warriors with Hell Scourges. And man, those Hell Scourge Warriors are just such menaces. They're just so disruptive, but finally find a good fight for the Bladesingers. They have high enough melee attack in tandem with a pretty substantial bonus for its infantry. So they should be able to cut through those guys and finish them off. We'll see if that can turn that objective. Now over here, this is a big fight. Can the Wood Elves hold on to this point? A couple Zotes come back, a couple Dryads, more Spears and Dryads coming out of reserve here to move up to the middle, and it is getting very, very close. Slaanesh could be hitting 1,400 points here in about 25 seconds. But I do think the Wood Elves, my prediction here, I don't know the outcome of this replay, but I would predict that the Wood Elves are going to have enough time to get it. It's looking like the Dragon characters are doing some good work. The Bladesingers are grinding very cost-effectively in the middle despite being hit with a lot of magic, and Wood Elves also have this dynamic capture weight with these Glade Riders. So they're quick, they're mobile, and they provide 4 capture weight in a pinch. So they might be able to outmuscle it. Let's see how this one goes. Dryad still duking it out here. Spellsinger fighting hard. And the Glade Lord providing those auras will certainly help them fight on that point. Looks like it's still flipping a little bit. Does Slaanesh have anything coming in? A couple Chaos Knights have been rallied here. Now on the backside, Dryad's going to be coming from downtown towards objective number 2 here. And ladies and gentlemen, we have an extremely close fight on our hands. Nothing going on in objective 3. That one looks like it's pretty much a wet noodle contest. That Forest Dragon was an absolute champ. 3,000 value. He deserves to fly back to the forest and chill. He's done more than enough. And now we got 75 seconds here until the game is over in favor of Slaanesh. We'll see if my predictions are wrong. We'll find out here today. Dryads trading well into the Devoted Marauders, and the Wood Elves just swarming all over. Glade Riders coming in with Spears, Dryads coming in. Capture weight starting to flip a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. 60 seconds left on this one as the Glade Lord comes in, and normally I would be like, oh my god, a big terror rout's going to happen, but Slaanesh can't be terror routed, so you got to break him the old-fashioned way. But talk about clutch. The Helm of Discord hitting everything here, and on top of that, the Dryads are now getting plus 10 melee attack. That's a really cool combo. So the Banner of the Hunter King, as well as the Call of the Woods. That is super good. And look at that, ladies and gentlemen. The objective is going to be flipping here. The Dragon character doing it. Now, imagine if that other Dragon had died earlier. It probably would have missed out on another 1,500 value, right? But it came back. It was able to get big game-turning breath attacks and fights on the objectives. And I think that's going to be it. I would wager that there's not going to be any recourse for Slaanesh. Maybe some, grabbing the side play, things like that. But yeah, it looks like for the most part, the Wood Elves now have control over the battlefield. And I don't think there's going to be much that old Slaanesh is going to be able to do. But man, it's crazy. If they even flipped an objective for like a second, it could potentially be GG, right? It's so tense. Looking around here, we see them getting in with some Devoted Marauders, but the old Wood Elves collapse and are able to swarm them and take them down. And yeah, it's got to be GG. So scary, though. Like, look how sketchy this is. Like, everything is just so shady here. Dragon moves in, but there is a tap out at the very end. That looked a little bit questionable there, though, actually. All right, what a great match. That was a really good scrappy one, so shout out to those guys. It's always fun to cast games on factions that don't have like broken or super OP units. I mean, I know Hellscourge Warriors are like really crazy, but it's not like they bust open the game like Action Ambushers, right? And the Dragon play was masterful. 2,900, 3,800, so yeah, that's like a whole different skill set I don't have. Like, there's a lot of players who are good at different things. There's like those Vampire Count players who are really good at microing their, SEs and, those really angled timing attacks to snipe characters from the land battle days. And but being good with dragons is a pretty unique skill set, but it can certainly pay off here. Ghouls is a top level player, I believe top 5 on the leaderboard right now, and I would imagine Rex is somewhere in the top 16 as well. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. GG to these two mighty champions, and we'll see you next time. Take care.